my friends, welcome back. My name is Tamitha, if this is the first time we're together. Today we're back into our bread baking series, and we are in our freshly milled grains series. So that's Bread Baking 200 series. This is Bread Baking 203, and we are making something that's a bit of a treat today. I know that we always kind of get to thinking that when we're working with freshly milled grains, we're going to stay with our healthier items and stay with a boule or something like that. But I wanted to show you that even with freshly milled grains, you can make treats, delicious treats for your family. Now, there's sugar here. So is this something that you want to have on the shelf? I mean, on the counter all the time? No. Because obviously, we want to be mindful of the amount of sugar. And it's not screaming in sugar, but it's definitely a sweet bread. Okay, so I just wanted to, when everybody's earned a treat, that's when we break out something like this. We are going to make two of them, one to bake today and one to freeze. Because if we're going to go through the trouble, we might as well make two and have one ready for us when we need it. I'm not going to comment on what's happening here because I keep getting yelled at, but I think you can figure it out. What we're going to be doing is we're going to use our hard white wheat, which is our standard when we're making something that we want to be tender. Okay, and then what I usually do is I blend in Sonora, which is even softer, and it is my favorite. It is my favorite by 100 miles. However, I ordered this. It's called Frederick Soft White, and it is supposed to be quite comparable to our Sonora. And I figured, why try it in secret when we can try it together? And if it's amazing, I'm going to tell you so. If I think it is just the worst and it sucks, I'm going to tell you that too. So we'll find out together and we'll go from there. The other thing that we are including in this recipe is a small amount of bread flour for structure. If you don't want to do that and you want 100% whole grain, I understand. I have the recipe. Oh, as always, I've got my recipe, the printable for you with all of the details. Do you have to use the bread flour? No. I believe you get a better result. It's not very much. In fact, I think I'm using 80 grams. Isn't that what I tested? Bippity boppity boo. 60 grams, 60 grams for 2 loaves. So, I mean, I think even the diehards can give me a pass here because that little bit of extra gluten gives us structure, and that's what we want. And one of the other things that we're doing in this bread that you've not seen me do before, but there's a reason, and I'll get into it, is I'm not just using whole milk, which is warming, but I'm also using powdered milk. Powdered milk adds it adds an additional browning. It has a beautiful flavor. And this particular one I'm using is from Azure Standard, not sponsored, I bought it myself. But I just happen to think they make a great product, so that's what I'm using. The other ingredients, we're using one of our homemade extract blends, which I use every chance I get. I mean, look how far down into this bottle I am. And this is the dark rum. And I think that the dark rum flavor is so beautiful with the little bit of extra flavor we've got going on using the whole grain. That little bit of extra flavor you get from the bran. The dark rum is so beautiful with it. So instead of fighting the flavor of whole grain, I'm actually pairing with it and layering it and encouraging it because it is so beautiful. The flavor that we're using in our sweet bread today is cardamom. I don't even know if I said it. We are making a cardamom butter pull-apart bread. And I've got a very particular way of shaping that I don't know if you've seen it before. I love it. I do it with sweet. I do it with savory. And it's a lot of fun, so I'm going to show you. It is an enriched bread, so we've got eggs. We've got 2 types of milk, sugar, salt, yeast. We've got our cardamom, our extract that we made ourselves in a previous video. I'll link it. We're going to grind our own flour. We've got our powdered milk. And we've got our old dough that we always use from the previous batch. It does not matter what the previous batch was. It's a very small amount, but that flavor, you can't beat it. So we're going to add it to this dough. When the dough is developed, we're going to take a little piece off, put it back into the container, and it goes back into the fridge to come back in our next loaf of bread, no matter what it is. I left my milk in the microwave because I am a putz, and so I'm going to go get that, and then I'm going to set us up over at the grinder, the mill, whatever, and we're going to grind some freshly milled flour. Be right back. our wet ingredients first so that we have everything ready to go. So we've got our warm milk, sugar, but I don't drop whole eggs into anything. The idea of chasing yolks around just irks me. I'm not sure why it's such a big deal to me. All I can say to you is that it is. It bothers me. Bothers me a lot. Okay, so we've got our yeast. Now the only thing I'm holding back is I am holding back our salt. Okay, that's important. I never put my salt in with my yeast. Now, there are a lot of people who are going to argue that it's not a problem, it's an old wives' tale. Well, that works out because I'm an old wife. So there you go. And I've never had trouble doing it this way, and I don't see any reason to go looking for trouble. So for that reason, I keep my salt separate. Plus, we are going to do an autolyse. Now, if you recall from our previous videos, autolyse is super, super important. I do not skip it. And what that really is about is simply we're going to mix together our dry ingredients with our wet. We're going to form a crumbly, shaggy dough, and we're going to let the whole thing rest for about 20 minutes, half an hour if you've got it. It's worth doing. Please, I beg you to do it. Okay, so now the only thing I have missing, now I'm going to treat it like it's a wet ingredient, but it's dry, and I need 45 grams of my milk powder. I've got my 45 grams of powdered milk. I'm just going to pour that right in there. Give everything a proper stir. The only thing that's not in this bowl right this moment, that's part of our dough recipe, is of course the flour that we just milled and our butter. I like to make sure I've got everything really well mixed now so I don't have pockets to deal with later. And the only thing left for me to grab is 60 grams of bread flour. And this is our weighed out, and you can see again the difference in color. Why is there such a difference in color between this bread flour, it happens to be King Arthur, and what we have in our bowl? Because what we have in our bowl is freshly milled. The bran is still part of what's here. The bran in here has been sifted out. Okay? We're going to we're going to stir this until it becomes a shaggy dough, and then we're going to cover it, and it's going to have a nice rest known as autolyse, and that's really just about allowing our flour to hydrate. You get a much, much better result. You're less likely to add too much liquid. You're less likely to add too much flour. Autolyse is worth the time. There's a lot of things in this life you can skip. This isn't one of them. I'm going to make sure we get it all. My theory, my motto, whatever, is I paid for it, I want it all. If I grew it myself, I still want it all.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Well, I wasn't talking to you, so that works out. That was Siri butting in. Okay. In the background, I think you can probably hear the chicks. They've gotten to be a little spoiled, and they spend a lot of time in my hands, so that when they hear my voice, the yelling starts, because they seem to think that that means it's cuddle time. I've ruined yet another batch of chicks. Okay, so now we're just going to clean the side of the bowl. We don't want those dried bits getting stuck in our dough. I'm going to cover it up. Now here's what I'm going to do here. Almost forgot. This is our dough that is from our previous batch. I'm going to put it here. It does not need to worry about being part of autolyse. I don't want to forget it. So by putting it here, I can't forget it. So it just sits there as, you know, like its little placeholder, knowing that it's not been forgotten, it's included. And when we go over to the mixer, I can't possibly forget it. And let's be honest, a lot of what I do is finding ways not to forget stuff. That's just the truth. We're just gonna go ahead and drop in our extremely shaggy dough. Get every bit. A good amount of it sticking to the bowl. We want it. Now, what we're going to do here is we are going to go ahead, let's lift this again, and we're going to, that was our salt. And we're going to add our butter, bit by bit. Please don't take your butter and just drop it in a big mound. You want your butter to be soft so it can be taken up into the dough little bit by bit. And when I say soft, I mean like this. I don't want you to try to use butter that's partially melted. That's going to completely change our texture. And it's important that you have your butter cut up into pieces like this. You don't want to try to get your dough to take on big giant pieces. It's asking too much of it. Just about at the end of our butter. Once the butter has been absorbed, I can raise the speed, not before. Right now I'm on 2, in case you're wondering. Just raised it to 4. Someone's going to ask, so I'll tell you, this is a Viking standing mixer. They don't make them anymore. I love this mixer with my whole heart, but they don't make it anymore. I can't imagine why, because this mixer is incredible. And I know I have to replace it because I need to be using a mixer that everyone can use, so I can give advice based on a mixer that everyone has a chance to get. And it just, buying another mixer when I have one that works makes me sad, but it is what it is. Because I'm not going to recommend to you a mixer that I don't know. The other mixer I have that I love is my Bosch Universal. Great mixer. I increased the speed to 6. Why did I do that? Because I want to start building gluten. And this is going to be a lower gluten recipe because we're using whole grain, if you recall. So that little bit of bread flour that we used has to do a lot of heavy lifting. If you recall from Bread Baking 101 series, we're also listening for a slapping sound. That still applies. Well, you'll notice, let me tip in here, the bowl is clean. That's important. We're no longer sticking, we're no longer shaggy. The dough is clear from the sides of the bowl. Let's lift you up, my friend. See, it's not sticking to my hands. Okay, and we have started to develop. Okay, so we need, almost there to pull a window, not quite. I think what we would probably need from this stage that I just showed you, I think I would probably need about 3 minutes and we're good. Let's find out. Look at that. That is gluten development. Remember where we started? It's shredded apart in my fingertips. Why am I doing this? I'm giving it a little bit of a workout with my hand. Okay, so now let's see. Can we pull a window? Look at that. The answer is yes. We're done. So we're going to transfer into the bowl that we're going to use for our bulk ferment. Now, one of the things that's very important that we not forget, if you are doing the old dough method, remember, ooh, a fly. I hate them. I hate them so much. Okay. I had to get that off my chest. I just had to. If you're going to do the old dough method, just pinch off a bit and squeeze. And this is about the size, let me make sure I'm in the camera here, yes. This is what we're looking for. That little bit will be our conveyor of flavor. And we do that every time with every dough that we make. Now, what I'm doing here is I am just doing a little bit of hand shaping. I don't tend to just take my dough and drop it as a blob into the bottom of my bowl. I always give it a bit of a spine. I give it some support. Always. Hey, we are going to cover this, and this is going to bulk ferment. What does that mean, or bulk rise? It means that it is going to proof in its bulk form. It's not been portioned. Okay, so this is a bulk of the dough. This is the entire bulk of the dough from this recipe. We're going to let it rise completely by itself, all covered up, not portioned. I'm going to put it in the proofer because my house is running a bit cool. If your house is running cool, please find a nice cozy spot for it, whether that be in the microwave with a bowl of warm water. There's all sorts of ways. As we all know, I do really enjoy my Broad & Taylor proofer. There's a lot of ranges these days that have proof settings. Whatever works for you. If you have to just cover it up with 4 towels, do what you need to do. We're going to let this go for 90 minutes, and when we come back, I'll show you exactly what you're looking for, because it's not about time, it's about texture. And I want to show you what it looks like when you should stop. We're waiting for our dough. We want to get our pans. So these are my 2 loaf pans that I'm going to be using. I'm going to line them both with parchment. It's important when you're making, I line everything I bake with parchment. It's just a habit, and I truly believe it's a good one. However, when you're working with something that's super sweet, lots of sugar, lots of things that are going to cause sticking, it is a gamble I am simply not willing to get involved in, to not have it sprayed and lined with parchment. Okay, now so we've got that set aside. We're going to get the stuff that we're filling with. So we're going to be using our cardamom. Make sure you're using a package that's not really old. We're going to be using our homemade vanilla that I did with the dark rum. And this is 170 grams of very, very, very high quality butter. I'm allowing it to soften. What's going to happen is we're going to let this get nice and soft, and we're going to add a bit of our homemade extract to our butter. And then we're going to slather our butter, and then we're going to mix our cinnamon sugar. Excuse me, it's not cinnamon sugar, our cardamom sugar. I've got to measure out my sugar. We're going to sprinkle that over, and we're going to shape it. And it's kind of an unusual way of shaping, so I think it's important. You might want to keep an eye on this. But, you know, while your dough is working, this is the time to get everything else ready. Keeps you organized and keeps you from being frantic. What you don't want to do is have your dough overproof because you weren't ready. Okie dokie. All right, so our time is up. And you see how beautifully rounded our dough is. That lets us know that we have fermented to the right amount. If your dough is kind of collapsed in the top and it starts to cave a little bit, that lets you know that you went too long and you overproved. What you want is a nice dome. That lets you know that you've still got lots of lift. You're going to get a nice lift in the oven, and this is exactly where we want to be. Okay, and you look in there, you see we're even pulling away from the sides a bit. Beautiful. Nice color too. Okay, so set that aside for a moment. Now, we are going to do a little something with our butter. A little bit of our extract. Homemade extract, just so beautiful. I'm going to put this in the microwave for about 5 seconds. Okay, so now we've got our butter soft, but spreadable. Because we want to make sure that we can mix up the extract with the butter. We want to have a nice emulsification. So we're not looking for any pockets. Now this is a little softer than I need it to be for any length of time. Like if I were spreading the dough right now, this is perfect, but I'm not. I still have to roll my dough out. So this will only be in the fridge for about 5 minutes, but that's perfect to keep it from getting too soft. I'm going to throw it in the fridge while we roll out the dough. Okay. A little bit of dough that's stuck. You forget that bite. It might be the best bite and you'll be sad about it for the rest of your life. There you are on your deathbed at 105 years old going, you know what I'm upset about? I'm kidding. I always say we're a family of 4, but my daughter's boyfriend, he counts 2. He's a good kid. His name is Isaiah. And I always say a family of 4, and he always sends me a note going, I don't count. And I always feel bad. So no, of course you count, Isaiah. So if you have a big family, go ahead and make both, bake them off, do whatever works for you. If you have a smaller family, or you double the recipe, you do what you have to do. But I have the recipe set so that what you're able to do is bake one, save one. So I'm going to cut the dough in half. The dough behaves beautifully, by the way. Doesn't fight. Very, very nice. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Let's make sure. Okay, so we've got the dough rolled out nicely. We're divided in half. Now we're going to spread our filling, and it starts with our butter that we added our homemade extract to. And we are not having to worry about leaving a section with no filling. You know, very often when you're rolling something up, like you're making a jelly roll, you're going to roll it up to make cinnamon rolls or something like that. Well, that's when you make sure that you leave part of it blank so that the dough will stick to itself and be able to close the roll. We're not doing that today at all. So you want to take your butter end to end, no blank spots. And this butter smells so good because it's got our homemade dark rum vanilla extract in it. And it just smells incredible. And for something to get through my sinuses right now, that's some stuff that smells good, I'll tell you. Okay. Nice and even. Okay. You can certainly do this with your fingers, but I find it's easier with a small spoon from a little higher up. See, when you lift up and you come from a little higher up, you actually spread more evenly. When you do this from closer, same as if you're seasoning something with salt. Raise your hand up a little bit and season from higher. You will find that you get a more even coverage across whatever it is you're seasoning. There, we want no spots of just exposed butter. And now we're just going to take our bench knife and we're going to divide. So good way to do it is to use your pan, you see the pan here, as your measure, and cut right that and follow it. Doing it that way, you know it's going to fit. That's my oven saying it's preheated. Okay. And now we're just going to cut into squares. Let's see, how would we like to do this? I want them, nope, I'm going to come this way. Okay. Hey, get back there. Okay, see what we got? Do the same thing on the other half. Get back there. Okay. We've got our pan lined, all ready to go. I'm going to move to the side here so that you can see better. I'm walking into everything. Okay. Now, let's move you so that you can see a little better. Now, I like to just press down so that the sugar isn't just wandering about. I press it down with my very clean hands so that it's sticking to the nice soft butter that we just spread. So that when we lift this, all the sugar doesn't fall off and land on the board, which is exactly what it would do. I took it, see, and I just folded it in half. Next one, fold it in half, and I stack. Okay? Do the same with the next row. Again, we're just stacking. Now you don't want to stack the tower so high that it becomes very difficult to move. That's why I have two towers, two little stacks. Because you could stack them all in one, but good luck moving it after you've done that. Okay, so we have two even stacks. Okay, so we move our pan right here. The bottom, the closed side, make sure you can see this, the closed side of our fold. Here's the open side, here's the closed side. The closed side goes down. Okay. And this is what it looks like. Okie dokie. And we need to leave a bit of room because this is going to rise again. So we're not trying to squeeze these in because they all need room. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just opening them up just a little bit. Not the folds, just the space in between each of the little, see? So it fills in just like that. And then we're going to cover this and we're going to let this rise until it's nice and puffy and coming up to the edge of the pan. I'm going to cover this up. Our oven is preheating. This one, unless you need to bake two, is going to go into the freezer. And this one we're not going to allow to rise at all. We are going to wrap that one up nice and tight. And we're going to put it directly into the freezer. Why are we doing that? Because we want this one to rise as it defrosts so that when you go to bake it, it is pristine. It's going to look like it didn't spend any time in the freezer. It's going to be this beautiful, perfectly baked. Look at that. It's going to be magnificent. So I'm going to clean this up and then I'm going to show you how I wrap it. So this is the one that we're going to freeze. You want to make sure that it is 100% airtight. So the paper is going to fold down like that. There is absolutely no air gap. What you want to do here is you want to include instructions for heating, for defrosting and heating and all that stuff. I recommend the instructions are going to be on the sheet, on the printable. I like to write them on an index card and slip them into the bag. That way, everything is labeled, you know exactly what's in here, but you also have the instructions. You don't have to go look for it or anything like that. So that's what I recommend that you do. It works great. Now this bag, does it close? No. This doesn't need the bag. I actually use the bag just to give a place for my card to sit. This bag will get used 47 more times. So it really just gives me a nice place to hold a lot of the air out. You see, I've got most of this closed. This is airtight, but this gives me a nice little home for my index card, which is where my instructions are. Okay? Okay, and so here we are. Whoopsie daisy, get back on there. We're gonna let this rise. Now, it's gonna take a different amount of time in everybody's home because it's gonna depend on the temperature in your home. What you want this to be is nice and puffy, pillowy. That's what you're looking for. In my house at this current temperature, which is 68 degrees inside my house right now, I would say this is gonna take about 30 minutes. I'll show you what it looks like before I put it in the oven, so you know what you're looking for. And we are out of the oven. This is extremely hot. Let's tip this so you can see what this looks like. So we're really nice caramelization. A big part of that is because we had that powdered milk. So now you can brush this on. I can't be bothered. So I do this. And it works beautifully. I put the butter on. If you wanted to do the powdered sugar instead of the salt, you have to let this cool all the way down and you have to let that butter dry. If you want to do the flake salt, which is what I want to do, you do it now while the butter is wet because it's going to help it stick. And no, you're not putting a lot. I mean, this is just a pinch and you see how they're kind of bouncing about. It is so, so good. One of the things that we would have is, because this is full of buttery, sugary goodness, this has to set. That sugar that's inside is over 200 degrees. This would just run all over the place. Okay, so I just wanted to show this to you, but here's the beauty. By having these overhangs, this acts as a sling and we're able to get it in here. Okay, you know what? I want to show this to you, so I'm going to try to get this out. Hang on. And that's just butter that was in the bottom of the pan. There we go. And here's one with the powdered sugar. It's hard to decide which, to tell you the truth. They're so good and so beautiful. And it smells so good, I bet you the neighbors can smell it. This is the texture inside. When I tell you this is delicious, my mouth is full and I'm sorry. It's just so good.